Am I the asshole for only paying for my own food at a friend's dinner and wasting everyone's time? Last night, my friends and I decided to try a new restaurant that one of my friends, Alex, had been talking about. I wasn't too excited about it because I've never heard of it, so I didn't know what to expect, but I went along to hang out with everyone. When we got there, I looked at the menu and didn't see much that appealed to me. I ended up ordering a small appetizer and a milkshake, while everyone else ordered full meals. When the food came, I didn't really like what I had ordered, but I ate it anyway because I was really hungry. Also, the food was very overpriced. The milkshake was about $8 while the fries were $6, so the total of what I ordered was $14. When the bill came, it was pretty high since everyone else had ordered a lot of food. One of my friends said we should split the bill evenly, but I didn't think that was fair since I had only ordered a small appetizer and a drink. I said I would just pay for my own food, while everyone else's meals were much more expensive. Some of my friends were okay with it, but a couple of them including Alex got annoyed. They said it was easier to just split the bill evenly and that I was being difficult. I explained that I didn't choose the restaurant, didn't order much, and didn't even like the food, so I didn't think it was fair to pay more than what I owed. We ended up having to stay an extra 15 minutes because I had a card and no cash, and they had to go to the register and have me pay only a certain amount. There was a lot of people there, so it took time. I was told we should have just split because now we wasted time, but I still waited and paid my $14. Now I'm wondering if I was being unreasonable because it was faster to just split the bill. I know that a lot of friend groups split bills, so I'm wondering if I was just selfish? I just didn't want to have to pay an extra $10 for no reason. Am I the asshole? Edit. Not sure why it's relevant, but I paid tax and tip. Now a lot of people mention cash. I normally pay with cash, but I forgot to bring it that night, my mistake. So I couldn't just throw cash down, I had to use the card. I never verbalized how I felt throughout the night because I didn't want to ruin the night. It was still fun to laugh with my friends. Not the asshole. If people want to split a bill like that, it has to be known in advance. I feel like when people know the bill is going to be split evenly, they always order more expensive items and the bill gets excessive quickly. To just lay it on like that afterwards means that anyone who didn't eat enough ends up paying for others' share. Essentially, they wanted to split the bill on your back. If they wanted to make it easier, they should have organized it in advance. In the future, they'll know better. Not the asshole. I was told we should have just split because now we wasted time, but I still waited and paid my portion. No one getting this butthurt over simply having to pay for their own meal is a person whose time is particularly valuable. Not the asshole. I refuse to do an even split on bills. People that want to do that are almost always paying way less than their actual bill would have been. A variation of this gets posted literally every day. Venmo and Cash App have pretty much alleviated this problem completely. It's totally unfair to expect you to subsidize your friends' meals. However, if you're going to pay separately, have a plan. Ask the server for a separate check, or ask whoever's paying if you can reimburse them for your portion using one of the above apps. Not the asshole. It's always the ones who order the most expensive crap that want to split the bill. Am I the asshole for making keepsake books for my daughters that don't include my husband? So, I, 31, have been making books for my daughters, 6 and 2, since my first was born. Every year on their birthdays I write them a letter talking about them and how much I love them, and I have been pasting them in a book next to a picture of me in them for each year. I plan on gifting these books to them when they turn 16. My thinking was that we don't tell the people we love how much we love them, and I never want my daughters to question my love. You also never know how life is going to pan out, and this way they will always have a personal memento of my own words in case anything were to happen to me. Now, my husband, 33, has always known about this. I was never keeping it from him. I would write the notes on my phone and then when I got the time would write them out to put in the book. He would even go through my phone and take snippets of what I wrote from my notes and post into his Instagram. The problem arose when my oldest daughter had just turned 4 and he came across me actually putting a letter in the book. He looked at the book and the pictures of me and her and said, "What about me?" He was angry that I hadn't included him and insisted that I either go back and change all the letters to say, "we," instead of, "I," and print new pictures that have him in them, or stop making the book. I haven't stopped making these books because I think they will be important for my girls to have. I've just put them at the back of a cupboard hoping he won't find them. I feel like they are about my relationship with my daughters, and I'm a little sad that my husband doesn't see the value in that. But I feel uncomfortable that they are now a secret from him. I guess I need some outsider opinions. Am I the asshole, or is my husband being unreasonable here? Edit. To be clear, because it seems some people have misinterpreted, these books are not full of photos documenting my children's lives. Just one page per year with a letter from me and one photo of me with said child. I would tell him you would love to include a letter written by him and a picture of him and the daughter each year. Do not take on the emotional work of his relationship with your daughters. Women have been sucked into the maintaining relationships role and it never works. You cannot maintain a relationship for two other people, it is between them. Not the asshole. Tell your husband the next time he asks, "What about me?" Tell him that he can do his own just as easily as you, as they are a diary of your feelings towards them. And he can do his own, and that would just as great as well. I think it is great what you are doing for your children. Keep up the good work, your children will cherish them no doubt later in life. Not the asshole. Yeah, it isn't your job to manage, coordinate, schedule, prompt, or organize his relationship with y'all's children. He is their father and presumably a grown-up who is capable of facilitating relationships with people he cares about. Bonding, nurturing and building a connection between a parent and a child is dependent on the parent doing stuff themselves to build that connection. It is like doing someone's homework for them. You can but you shouldn't. Helping or making a suggestion is totally different than doing the entire assignment for them. Basically, he wants you to do his homework. Seriously, a kid doesn't want to hear their mom say, "Your dad loves you." They want their dad to actually say the, "I love you." Not the asshole. OMG, what a blatant example of a man believing that he is entitled to have the emotional work of a family be done by his wife but credited to him. Sadly, while appalling, it is not a surprise. You're doing all the work but he wants everything to be we? Go to any bookstore. You will find letters to my daughter, son, grandchild books everywhere. Get him his own books and let him do his own damn journaling. Not the asshole. It looks like he knew she was doing this, and assumed without confirming that he was included. All for 6 years so far, without lifting a finger or making a single effort himself? Imagine that. Not the asshole. He can write letters and take photos and add them to the books, but I suspect he just wants his wife to make him look good without him actually doing anything at all. Am I the asshole for refusing to name my baby after a dead girl? I, 25F, and my husband, 27M, have a complicated history together, especially concerning his family. I met him on a blind date when we were both in college, and he asked me to be his girlfriend on our second date. He's always been sweet, trying to be considerate of my feelings, especially when it comes to his family. His mother has always been against our relationship from the start, mostly due to the reasons I think I might be the asshole here. He had a friend, let's call her Annie, who passed away when he was a teenager. He's always been close with her, and he always insisted they were platonic. However, his mother always talked about how they were supposed to get married as adults and I was his second choice, and he wouldn't have married me if she was alive. It's always hurt in all honesty, and I've tried as hard as I can to be accommodating for her and her grief, as she cared about Annie a lot and was even friends with her mother. Annie was a great girl, and I do wish I could have gotten to know her, but it hurts being constantly compared to the woman my husband could have been with. Especially since we already have a son who his mother isn't allowed to see because of her insistence that he's not her real grandbaby, because he isn't Annie's. So this is where I think I probably overreacted and could be the asshole. We found out 2 months ago that we were having a baby girl and we were ecstatic. I was worried he'd be one of those boy-only fathers, but he almost cried finding out we'd have a girl. Our son is also over the moon, constantly talking to his sister and asking for her name, which has become an issue as he recently asked to name our daughter after Annie, which was upsetting especially since his mother is so hung up about them being together. We ended up arguing slightly and I'm currently staying with my son at a friend's house. Am I overthinking this? I just don't know what to do. His mom has been blowing up my messages, I don't even know how she got my messenger, me and him haven't spoken to her since our son's first birthday, and my mama has just told me to stop arguing over it and just let him choose her name since she's his only daughter. Any advice is appreciated, I need a non-biased opinion. My friend says that I was overreacting for leaving, but I just needed time for myself, and I don't want to confront him right now. I know I can be sensitive without realizing so many input is appreciated. Minor edit. First, I wanted to thank everyone who answered. Sometimes I feel like I'm going crazy feeling like I do. Please tell me if I missed anything, there's too many comments to sort through. Annie died at 18 in an accident, and yes, her and my husband's mothers were friends. Me and my husband met when I had recently started college, and we got married a year later. Our son is 3. My husband always defends and stands up to his mother when it comes down to it. I know he cares about me, but I worry sometimes if he'll subconsciously start believing what she says. I know I'm his wife, I'm the woman he married and has kids with, but it's hard not to feel secondary sometimes. My husband works a lot, and at the moment I wasn't thinking straight, but thinking about it I think it was a better choice to take him as I don't want him to be left alone by himself. I won't argue if he wants to see him or wants to pick him up in his free time, I'm just not ready to speak to him at the moment. As in for compromise, after reading through some comments I think using any name similar to Anne might be an issue. While I understand the sentiment is sweet, I don't want to feel pressured into a name that I know I'll regret. Not the asshole saw post that may have been hubby earlier. Wanting to name your child with a name that has caused so much trauma in your relationship is unfair to you. Due to his mother's behavior, his friend's name is now off the card. Your daughter will also be favored over your son because she is the memorial to Annie. This name is now toxic to your marriage. The fact he let it get to the point you have had to leave your home whilst pregnant is not right. You can get by it, but he needs to understand that he could damage the relationship between you and your daughter before she is born, cause resentment with her brother because she is favorite, cause trauma for you every time her name is mentioned. Good luck. Not the asshole. His mom won't accept her grandson? That's a no contact right there. How has your husband dealt with that? Because if my mother did that, I go scorched earth. Do not name your baby Annie or Anna or anything remotely linked to that now. The link with Annie is clearly toxic for your family and it needs to be shut down. Although from what you said about her, she'd be fuming about the way his mom is behaving. Your husband needs get on board with Annie not being a name option, and he needs to sort his mother out or cut her out. You had my not the asshole it. Have a son who his mother isn't allowed to see because of her insistence that he's not her real grandbaby, because he isn't Annie's. That his mother doesn't acknowledge your little boy as her real grandchild is disgusting. It's very unfair of your husband to even consider using the name Annie when you've been second to Annie for your entire relationship. You both need to have a deep and serious conversation about this. Your husband must be made to understand that his mother's stance is unacceptable, and so is the pressure to force you to name your daughter after his late girlfriend. I wonder if his mother would say your daughter is not her real grandchild if you don't use the name? Not the asshole. I think your mother-in-law is awful and must get over herself. Similarly, your husband knows his mother has been comparing you to Annie. It's been many years and clearly they weren't meant to be because she's not here anymore. I also don't think you're wrong for wanting a bit of space. Him asking you to name your child after Annie validates all your worst thoughts, and that's scary and awful. I think you need to have an honest conversation with your hubby and tell him how you feel and take it from there. You shouldn't have to name your baby something you don't want to name it. You're the one who's literally sacrificing their body and putting their life at risk to bring life in this world. You should have more say on the name Emo. In ta up. Your husband just asked to name your baby after a person who you have been compared to for your whole relationship. He either is an idiot and didn't think any of this through or just doesn't care. Either way, I would seriously consider talking to him about it to figure out what exactly is wrong. Not the asshole. This would be my hill to die on. Your husband is wrong. Your mother-in-law is awful. Do not let this happen. Make sure he doesn't get to fill out the birth certificate. I cannot fathom the gross insensitivity of this request and your mother-in-law's behavior. You need to have a discussion with your husband. Explain your reasons thoroughly and completely. If he still insists, you've got a bigger problem. Am I the asshole for ruining my friend's vacation? I, F38, just got back from a vacation with two of my longtime friends, Kate, F40, and Mary, F38. I've known them both since university, and we've always been close. The three of us had been planning this Bali trip for a few months, along with our husbands and their kids. They both have children under 5, while my husband, Jake, M45, and I are child-free. We agreed to split the cost of a 4-bedroom villa 3 ways, and everything seemed fine at first. Jake and I arrived in Bali earlier than the rest of the group because we had different flights. Once we got to the villa, we waited to choose rooms with our friends and didn't mind when they both chose the ones with en-suites. We had a great time during the trip. Jake and I did some couples activities, massages, hiking, dinners, but we also spent time with Kate and Mary and their families whenever it worked for everyone. To be nice, I even surprised them with massages to give them a break. The only thing that made me uncomfortable was that whenever I ordered a drink, a cocktail before dinner, or a glass of wine with meals, I get comments like, "Oh, you're drinking again?" For context, I'm a social drinker and don't drink often, but we were on vacation, and I didn't think it was a big deal, especially since our husbands were drinking too. I just ignored the comments so I could enjoy the trip. On the last night, Jake and I made plans with the guys to go out, and Kate and Mary said they were staying in to pack. Jake convinced me to join him, and since it was the last night of our vacation, I didn't want to stay in either. We went out and had a great time. We got home at 1 a.m. and I passed out straight after. The next morning was a bit chaotic with everyone packing and checking out, but we all made it back home without issue. We had booked business class seats back, so we were separated during the flight and said quick goodbyes at the airport. A week after returning home, I got a long text from Kate saying that both she and Mary wanted to reduce contact with me because I had ruined their vacation. They mentioned several things, like me drinking every night, that I wasn't acting like a girl's girl, that I booked different flights, didn't hang out with them enough, and that I was selfish for not helping with their kids. She even said I was just focused on partying and not acting my age. This message really hurt me. I cried after reading it, and I honestly don't know what to think. I thought I was just enjoying my vacation, but clearly, they had a very different view. I haven't responded yet, and my husband has been asking what's bothering me, but I don't know what to say. Am I the asshole for how I acted during the trip? Edit. Thank you, Reddit, for all your kind words and support. Reading through the responses and seeing how many of you are upset on my behalf has made me reflect on how I initially planned to handle things. I was going to apologize, thinking it might be the easiest way to keep the peace, but now I realize that might not be the right approach after all. I have also showed my husband, Jake, this post in the text message, and he told me to thank you for looking out for me. He's actually pretty angry on my behalf about the text message. I showed him some of the comments that gave me insight on how my friends may have been feeling, which has given us both a lot to think about. He asked me what I wanted to do next and if I wanted him to respond to my friends for me. While I appreciated the offer, I told him I'm still thinking it over. He reassured me that he's here for me no matter what, and if I decide I want him to step in, he'd be ready to say something on my behalf. For now, I'm going to sleep on it and take some time before I respond or don't respond to the text message. If I do, I'll post an update. Again, thank you all for helping me see things a bit more clearly. I feel less alone in this now. Not the asshole. They're 100% jealous. There's a stage in life where child-free people do better hanging out with other child-free people. People with kids can't see past their family lives and don't understand why you might want to live your life. I've been that soldier. Whatever about meeting for coffee, lunch, dinner. Traveling with them is an absolute no. Not the asshole. They sound a bit jealous of your vacation experience. They had kids to take care of and they expected you to stick by their side, not drink because they couldn't, not go out because they couldn't, and they're probably flabbergasted that you wanted to go out with the men instead of staying back with the women and children and pack. I would respond and ask to speak in person if possible. Ask for clarification on what you did wrong and what they expected of you. Why haven't you shown the message to your husband? Why are you friends expecting you to provide more support than their husbands? Not the asshole. Tell your husband what's bothering you. If he's close with the other husbands, he should ask them if they had a good time. If they say yes, ignore you girlfriends. They're just jealous that you're child-free and could have a great time. It's not your job to help with their kids. If that's the problem, they could have left the kids at home. Not the asshole. Their kids are their problem, not yours. The fact that you were having a glass of wine with a meal was perfectly fine. It sounds like they're jealous that you were having fun and you didn't have the extra responsibility of children. If they wanted that freedom on vacation, they should have arranged for their children to stay home with family. I'd simply respond with, no prob Bob. I had fun. Sorry you didn't. Maybe the stick up your ass is causing you some discomfort. You should see a doctor about that. Not the asshole. They have FOMO and are jealous of your freedom. They wanted you to act like a submissive mom like them, rather than live your best child-free life. I'm a 35-year-old woman and my 33-year-old sister who is a mother will constantly make comments about me being told old for the things I do, which are things like traveling, going to concerts etc. because I am child-free. It's resentment and it's their problem, not yours.